Once you've finished your orchis block, you can now prepare the background to make the circle. So what's involved with that is you'll need your pattern, you need freezer paper, and dull side up, you're going to trace that inner circle on one piece of freezer paper, then you're going to trace the outer circle on another piece of freezer paper and cut them out. I also like to trace, you can see here, just the outline of the orchis. This will help us place the freezer paper circle onto the front of the fabric, so that then we can put some registration marks with pins, and so we'll be able to flip it over. What we're going to do is iron this freezer paper patch to the back side of our block. And then we're going to cut out 1/4 of an inch out here and turn that over, and I will show you all those steps. So here we have this, you'll notice too here on the orchis, the larger circle, which is going to be the little narrow border. Because the paper was a little bit small, you'll have to turn it once you trace it to get this, which runs off the edge, if that makes sense. You just turn it, okay, and trace it. Okay, so you're going to cut out your freezer paper, marking it on the dull side, and here I have it ready right here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to, we'll pretend this is finished, I'm still in progress. I'm going to line this up on here. And then what I'm going to do is I can mark it either with a chalk pencil around the edge, or you can also use a few pins, and you can pin to make some registration marks right around the edge. Grab my pins. So I've got it lined up. Okay, I've got his mouth there, his nose there, there's his, so I know that that's lined up. So this is to make sure we center the design. So I'm going to put a pin right on the edge. And the reason I'm doing this is I can see the pins from the other side, the back side, the wrong side of the fabric, and line up my freezer paper patch inside those registration pins. So I put in, you know, maybe 8 pins, something like that, enough so you can really align them. And if you want to run a chalk pencil around, that's fine too. So see, there are my pins. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it over, just like that one got. And then I'm going to take my freezer paper patch with the shiny side down, and I would iron that down inside those pins. And I'm going to do that and scoot it over here to the ironing board, and I'll iron that down. I'm going to move it here just a tad. And then what we'll do is we're going to cut then 1/4 of an inch outside of that. And that's what we're going to use to, that 1/4 inch will be turned over the edge of the paper. So it's really like paper piecing. That's really what it is. You're paper piecing a patch. So there, this is what it looks like. So it's ironed down. So now I can take my pins out from this side, because I know it's where I want it to be. But I do like to then put some pins in. I like to make sure it's pinned down really well, so I'll put a few pins in here, okay? Just in case it comes up. So then I'm going to cut, and I will mark it with a pencil, 1/4 of an inch outside here. That's going to be my cutting line, okay? And I just eyeball that. But if you want to be safe, So then I would get a basting thread and needle, and I'm going to show you on another, this is another patch, circle patch. Then I'm going to pull it over the edge, and I'm going to baste through the freezer paper and the my applique piece, and just run a basting strip all the way through. So then you get this stable patch, and that can be appliqued down easily. So the next thing you would do is then you take your larger piece, your border piece, and you would trace that onto the large and cut that piece out, okay? And you have this variegated piece. It really doesn't matter where you put it. You can do it pretty randomly. And then I would cut, I'd cut that piece out, and I would prepare it exactly the same way. So then what you do is you then take your, these are hypotheticals. Obviously this doesn't go with this, but then I would applique, once this patch is done, I would applique this, let's say this is the Orcas patch. Here we can, to this using your applique stitch all the way around. And then once you get this applique down, you want to leave about maybe 2 inches. Then you can pull all the basting threads, lift this up, and then you can pull the freezer paper out because it's all secured except for this little patch that you leave open. Then you applique that down, okay? So now it's secured to this circle background patch, which has been prepared exactly the same way. So the freezer paper is out of this. So then you've got it ready to go when you're ready to place this on your background fabric, and then you're going to applique that down. But you're going to leave the freezer paper in this for now, okay? I like to just let this be a double piece, and then I'll pull the freezer paper out and just leave the 2. You could also cut away and remove the freezer paper, but you don't want to do, you want to leave a rim of the freezer paper around here that's appliqued down. I think it's easier just to leave the whole circle piece of the narrow border in place and just let it be there, and you can easily quilt through it. So that's how to make your freezer paper circles.